Okay, we didn't get a chance to talk about rafter tables in class last night, so I wanted to throw this video together. If we take this same floor plan you're working on sketches, and my clear span over here is a little less than 24 feet, which is kind of long for a joist to have to span. So we're going to assume that there's a wall in the center, or a beam, if we don't have walls like for door open. But we'll assume that there's a wall down the middle, which gives me a 12-foot span. Now the rafters run like so. This diagram doesn't show a ceiling joist, but the ceiling joist would actually be in this location right here. And like I did say in class, is it provides tension to prevent the walls from wanting to go outward, okay? And so that's the normal location for a ceiling joist. If we look at the rafter span table, and the book just gives you, this one page of it, but the actual tables that are used, you have some for low slope roofs and some for high slope roofs. You have a variety of live loads and deflections and a variety of dead loads, okay? So we're just gonna go with this one because that's what we have to work with. And let's just go with a 16-inch on center spacing and southern pine lumber. And so we look at a 2x4. Well, that will only go, from 7'11" to 10'3", okay, depending upon the grade of lumber. So a 2x4 will not work for our rafter. So let's go to a 2x6. All right, so we see here a number 3 will not work, but a number 2 will. Okay, it'll span 15 feet 1 inch. We only have to go, a little bit less than 12 feet. So we could use a southern pine number 2 at 16 inches on center for our rafters. Okay, now if we wanted to consider 24-inch on center spacing, we could look there too. A number 2 would still work for us, okay, at 24-inch on center spacing. A number 1 would definitely work with that. All right, but now, well, while I'm still on this page, if you look, a lot of these will say C note B, which down here, which means that particular piece of lumber, like a Hem-Fir, Super Select, 2x10, could go to 26 feet, okay? You're not gonna get very much lumber that's in excess of 26 feet long, okay? So it just, trees grow tall, but they don't grow that tall, that big, without getting into stuff. Now this chart right here has a conversion factor that you could use. If your ceiling joist is not at the bottom of the attic space, like I say, the ceiling joist is not here, but it's actually a little higher up than the walls, or you may have what's known as a rafter tie, which is like up here. Okay, so you may end up putting in a vaulted ceiling. And we're not going to get involved with this in the class, but in those cases where the ceiling joist or a rafter tie is higher, you use these adjustment factors in the tables, okay? I'm just saying that so you'll realize, oh, well, that's there, all right? All right, so we know we could use a 16 on center number 2, or we could use a 24-inch on center number 2 also. Either one of those would work for us in a 2x6. So let's look back here in the appendix. It has the ceiling joist table. And so let's look at that and see what we have to deal with. So if we go with our 16-inch on center spacing, a 2x4, we couldn't use a 2x4, all right? So a 2x6 could span, 17 feet 8 inches, all right? So that will definitely work at 16 inches on center. Let's look at the 24-inch. And we could use a 2x6. We could actually use a 2x6 number 3, okay, which is a lower quality grade of lumber. So either of these would work for us. We could go 24-inch on center spacing or 16-inch on center spacing. The 24-inch spacing means we use less lumber in building our roof, but it's still strong enough for us, okay? The one thing is you do want to keep your ceiling joist spacing equal to your rafter spacing. So you want both of them, if you're going to do 24 on center, you want both of them to be 24 on center. It just makes construction easier. So we could use, you know, Southern Pine number 2, 2x6s at 24 on center. That will work. And back to my rafter span, I could use the same type of lumber, a Southern Pine number 2 at 2x6 at 24-inch on center spacing. So that would work for both my rafters and my ceiling joists. Now, it's going to change based on whatever your house plan is and that span. But like I remember I did say in class is for ceiling joists, especially for ceiling joists, you want to use the same size of lumber all the way through the building if at all possible. Rafters, it's best if you can, but it's not critical. Okay, so if you have like one of the other examples, you know, we have an L-shaped building, you may have a different size on the L-shape coming out into the garage. So there you go. That's a kind of a quick explanation on rafter tables.